Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to Phase 1, the show where we look at pre-release content. Today we're having a look at the marketing demo for Halo Wars 2. Pardon me, I meant to say the in-development beta for Halo Wars 2. Yes, quite. Yeah, the game's coming out February 21st, so there's not much they can tweak at this point. Unless, of course, we're playing a really old build, in which case they probably fixed a lot of the complaints that I'm going to have with this by now, but hey. So, as I said, this is coming out on February 21st, but you can currently play the Blitz beta on Xbox One and Windows 10 PCs. We're playing the PC version. And you can play that for free until the 30th of January, which is nice. And since this is really the first time we have our hands on the beta, or any form of Halo Wars 2 in particular, we're going to be having a look at the options menu. So the options menu, for starters, the interface in general, all around kind of sucks. I feel like they can fit everything on one screen, and I don't know why everything's loading in so slowly, but whatever. So, full screen on or off. What's nice is that this is a universal Windows platform app. There's a sentence you're never going to hear. What's nice is that this thing stops you from modding it and having fun with the game and tweaking files, but, you know, there are some cool features from the drawbacks. For example, if you hit Alt and Enter, you can now do this. Woo! You can actually move that to any monitor, and it doesn't take a million years for it to recorrect itself to the aspect ratio to adjust the resolution, because the resolution is adjusted internally, which is kind of cool. I always like that. Very quickly get back into your game without having to wait and watch your monitor flicker. Anyway, so you can go as low as 720p, and you notice it's not really affecting the aspect ratio here if I accept it. So you can go pretty high over here. You can go twice your default resolution, and in this case that's 3840 by 2160, which is more or less double 1080p. Now, if you have anything higher than 1080p, you can of course double that, but for some reason it only locks to double your default resolution, which is a little annoying from what I can tell. You have VSync, you have level of detail that has 4 different levels. Texture filtering, it goes up to 16x anisotropic filtering. Texture quality. Then you have anti-aliasing, which only has SMA, which is totally fine. Shadow map resolution, 2048 is your maximum. I have 4 options. Foliage quality, you can actually turn this off, which is cool. Terrain quality, ambient occlusion, cloud shadows, particle lights, and then you have screen space reflections. So you have a lot of the heavy-hitting options readily available. You don't have to go to any INIs, which I'm not sure if you can even do that with the, glorious Microsoft platform apps. Glorious tablet nation. Anyway, game options, battle feed, mini-map rotation, nice to have. Default zoom, I really like this option. Wish they would give you like a little example on the side, but it's nice that you don't have to if you get this right, you don't have to constantly tweak it whenever you start a game. Controls. Okay, so you'd think that this launching on Xbox One and PC, that the controller side would have tons of options, because hey, it is an RTS, but at least in the beta, they don't have really any control schemes, just one, your default, and that's about it. There's some, little help here, like for what buttons do what in which modes, but other than that, yeah, you don't really have much. Swap analog sticks, always nice to have. Controller vibration, scroll speed, camera follow, sticky selection. It's kind of like aim assist for RTS, lets you snap to things very easily. Mouse scrolling, mouse edge scrolling, invert camera drag, direction, scroll speed. A lot of good camera options here, but what's nice is this. Yeah, a lot of options for binding your keys to certain actions. Now, I'm worried about the interface for Halo Wars 2. We haven't seen too much, especially for Windows PC platforms. There's some options for base building in here. So that's going to be interesting, because Blitz mode only allows access to unit control. You don't have access to building bases right now. So that's definitely going to be interesting. Now, the big problem I have with this beta right now, and it's a bonehead decision, I understand this is still beta, but it's still beyond stupid. There's no option to toggle your microphone, meaning that microphones are always on. And what's worse is that you can't quit out of the game in the menu. There's no menu in-game. You have to, like, right-click, close the game in your taskbar. Or task manager. It's just... it's so dumb. And the other thing that's dumb is some of these Blitz options. So you release a beta for a game mode, and you don't have the controls fully configured. I'm assuming since they're here right now, that they're going to be fixed in the main game, but what happens is in Blitz, you get 4 cards from a deck. We'll talk about that later. But you get 4 cards to choose from, and you can spawn in units. So that's how you get your reinforcements. You get some energy, you spend that energy on cards, and then you use your mouse to select where you want to spawn the units. And it's always spawned from the sky, instantly. So here's the problem. So let's say I want to bind, instead of having Blitz card 1 be, you can't see it here, be key number 1, I'll have it be function number 1. Doesn't work here for some reason. Like, I'll try to do this. Bind it to function 1. Still blank, still stuck like this. It's always 1 through 4, respectively, through cards 1 through 4. I really like to have my units on 1 through 4. That's what a lot of people like to have their units on. Some people get used to it where they put their units on like 4 through 7 or something, or 4 through 8, but I'm used to that. A lot of other players are used to that. I really wish they actually fixed that when they put the beta out. But aside from that, control options, generally pretty good. I can't complain too much about that. It's all up to the UI for the base building, because Halo Wars 1 had a lot of problems when they ported it over to PC with the UI. Because Halo Wars 1 was never really intended to be this hyper-competitive RTS, at least I don't think Ensemble or Microsoft thought it would. And I'm really hoping Halo Wars 2 is taken seriously by the community. But it needs to have a good UI, especially for PC. Music volume, SFX volume, voice volume, cinematics volume. Note that this is not voice volume for people in the game. I've not been able to find a way to mute them. It's annoying. Subtitles, cinematics, speaker settings, hi-fi, TV, or headphones are your options. And that's pretty much your lot for the options menu. So let's get into talking about the elephant in the room, which is Blitz mode. Okay, so Blitz mode is really cool. Basically, you have a deck of cards that you build. You have several leaders you build them for. So you have 2 factions, the Covenant and the UNSC. And you have 3 leaders per faction. So you have an AI, a Professor, and the Captain Cutter. For the Captain Cutter, yes, that's his name. No, Captain Cutter for the UNSC. And then you have 2 Brute Chieftains, it looks like, one of which is the focus of the story, and then you have an Elite. You don't have a Prophet this time around, which is interesting. So you can have 3 deck slots for each leader, which is cool, and you build a deck of cards and you get drawn 4 at a time and use energy that you get over time to spawn those cards. And what's cool is that you can increase your energy in the game. We'll talk about that in a bit. But there's a lot of different cards added to the game. There's a lot of really interesting cards added, but my biggest problem is how it's done here. So you can get more cards via opening packs, but there's not so many new units that it justifies adding an entire card system that you buy over it for. Now the problem here is this thing right here. You notice I just leveled this card up. Now when you get multiple copies of one card, instead of just throwing it away or disenchanting them like you would in Hearthstone for other cards, you level that card up, and this adds to your total deck level. So I'm assuming how the matchmakings work is that you're matched up with people with similar deck levels. Here's the problem with that. Yes, you can argue it's technically not pay to win because you're going to be matched up with similar players, but once the community drops, once the player base drops, post-launch, you're going to have a bunch of new players who buy the game on sale competing against players with insanely high deck levels. Unless it doesn't match them at all, in which case this mode's going to be completely useless, you're going to get matched with players who have cards leveled up way higher than yours. And there's no disadvantage to having leveled up cards. It doesn't make it so that you can't, add more to your deck or add less to your deck. It just, it's just a better card. It's automatically leveled up. You can't even pick the lesser version as far as I know, like the original version that isn't leveled up. Which is a shame, because I think this card system is actually kind of cool. I could totally see there being a mode where it's like, just take out the microtransactions, which, by the way, there's a season pass for this game, too. You just have an experience point system. All of it goes, you have campaign experience, and that can go to purchasing cards. And let's just say you can only purchase cards through experience, and you just get new cards. You don't get this level up card system. Anyway, that's incredibly frustrating to me. There are challenges. When you increase your level, you do get packs. By the way, if you do log in and if you do play a game in this version, you do get 2 packs in the retail version. So there is some progress carryover. But you might say, okay, look, all these challenges you can do. Oh, but once you start leveling up, like in Overwatch, you have that issue where, okay, it's taking me like 10 games and 3 challenges just to get 1 pack of cards. That's my assumption. Now, I will be frank, right now they are being generous with giving me packs, but hey, it's not too far into the game right now. And they could change that on release. So you have several modes right now to play through. Some are locked off, private match and firefight in particular, but you can have up to 3 players per team, making a total of 6 players on one map. Alright, so after a million games, we find a game where no one has a crappy open mic. Okay, so you select your leader right here, and you don't need to have everyone ready up. Eventually it'll just count down and the game will start, which is nice. Oh boy, that's a real... I'm sorry, I gotta rant for a second here. That is a really stupid design decision, because one, I cannot quit from the game. I have to close out of it, meaning that every time I relaunch to get a new game, I have to wait through the 3 loading screens, then the freeze screen, the split-second screen, that one always gets you, like, oh, press here to play Halo Wars, and it's like, oh, hold on, we gotta load that too. It's like, okay, 3v3, the Proving Grounds, an fitting arena for endless battle, and horrible mic chatter. Capture more zones than your opponent to score, so if you have the majority, your team has the majority, you will get points. First to 200 wins. Now, what's nice is that you can actually control all 3 zones and you get bonus points, which is cool. And energy spawns on the map. And when your team collects it, you will collect it as well, so there's no fighting over, who's going to have the bigger squad. Alright, so let's move out. Now, what's really cool is that there's no fog of war. Now, you still have a limit to where you can spawn units, in your line of sight right here. So if I want to spawn it over here, that's cool, but I can't spawn it over here. Oh boy, here we go. I'm going to back off so my ally can come in and we can support him, because I have 2 Nightingales. Those are really good for support, so hopefully we can puncture through here. And he has an anti-vehicle right here, so... we do need to take out that Wolverine that's anti-air. So yeah, without the fog of war, it's really interesting like how you can play a game of chicken. It's like, okay, he's going to move there, so I'm going to move there, but he knows I'm moving there, so it's like you're just kind of going back and forth. Alright, so we had enough support, and he didn't have enough anti-infantry countermeasures because we only have 2 vehicles here, and he was using 2. One was anti-air, and one was anti-ground, so that's cool. So if you played Halo Wars, you'll be familiar with a lot of the units. Like Wolverines are anti-air, these Hunters are anti-tank. But if you're new, it's going to take some time to get used to that. I do hope the campaign does lay that out pretty nicely. And there are some weird additions in Blitz mode. For example, there's no buildings, but you have the Locust unit, which is anti-building. Still is from the original Halo Wars. So that's a little weird. Let's spawn some artillery. This is one of the... I think it's one of the newer units. Now, one of the problems I have with the game is partly the... It's always been a problem I've had with a lot of RTS games, especially ones with heavy unit control. I'm not really paying attention right now. Let's drop some ODSTs and just blow up this tank. Oh, Jesus. It's how your units move around, and... there's no better way to really explain this, but it's incredibly slow and clunky a lot of the times in a lot of these 3D RTS games. Now you might think, well, some of the vehicles are pretty big and bulky. Of course they're going to take a long time to move around, but I'm talking about how they move differently when you tell them to move. Like, for example, their turn speed. Like, when a vehicle is facing one direction and you tell them to turn all the way around, depending on how far away you click and where you click, it can take the difference between ages for that vehicle to turn out and seconds. All because you clicked, like, at a slightly different angle. And you can make the case, like, okay, that makes it very tactical. And, okay, point taken, but the problem is I don't expect that degree of depth from something like Halo Wars. Especially considering that, this game is coming out for console and you need to have very precise control and accuracy over your units. See, look at this, look at this. You're seeing that, right? I told him to go here and he just does this major turnaround. It just bothers the hell out of me. Games of Age of Empires and StarCraft 2. Oh, you want the unit to go there? Cool, he's going there. You need him to reroute. He's not going to do like a 360 no-scope turn. He's going to just simply slightly change his footing. I'm sorry. That is a... Ooh, we're gonna use a unit ability here. Ah, we missed. That's one of the cool things, that your commanders have special abilities. One can even spawn in a Scarab temporarily, which is pretty awesome. I think Halo Wars is the only Halo game that's let you take control of a Scarab unit. And in Halo Wars 1, you could actually properly build them. They weren't just like a timed superpower. Like, it's like, hey, this thing costs like 20,000 resources, but you can seriously mess people up with this. Like, I would build 3 or 4 Scarabs and just walk around the map just destroying bases. It was a ton of fun. I like it when games give you control like that. And Halo Wars has always been like, you know what? We're going to let you use the cool units in the game. Obviously, they didn't let you use the ships. It was all ground and air-to-ground combat. But I'd love to see like a really quick like mini game or like a space battle in Halo Wars 2, like just one campaign mission like they did in Reach, where you control a ship. Now we lost. Like, you control a ship in Halo Reach, and you would fly around and you would attack this bigger capital ship, and that was really cool. But they didn't do too much with it. They didn't flesh it out too well, so a lot of people ended up not liking that mission, but I thought it was kind of cool in that, hey, you have this whole other universe outside of what you're used to seeing. Because a lot of people forget about all the cool ships that are in Halo, and you really only see Phantoms or Pelicans. You don't see the Spirit of Fire enough, those big capital ships like the Pillar of Autumn or Truth or Prophet, or just all these amazing looking ships, and you're like, I want to pilot one of those, I want to command one of those, and you're like, I really wish I could. Maybe in this game you could, in the campaign, just one mission, that would be awesome, like Empire at War style, but probably not going to happen. But hey, it's at least cool that they're adding all these cool looking units. It's looking to be a really interesting game, and I'm really excited to play it. I really hope they fix the PC port issues, because that's potentially a deal breaker for me, some of these issues. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you very much for watching. I'm out.